Hello everyone, so I'm back with a Garrison Archangel video, and this is to really sort of predict what's going to happen. The RoboFights YouTube channel is holding a competition to try and get your Mecha into Garrison Archangel, and for those that know, I do play Garrison Archangel a little bit. Not as much as I used to because I'm heavily invested in Gundam at the moment, but it's still a really good mecha game that you should try out on Steam, especially if you like things like either Gundam or Armored Core. But here is my new mech. I'm just running it through simulations because the competition that's going on at the moment for October, or for Halloween, is called Spooktober Fights. And basically, it's a chance to get your robot in the game. Now, I entered this with 2 days left, and my original robot was really designed for overpowering the enemy quickly and speed. But when I redesigned, I looked a lot more on stats and what actually worked for the AI, and also just worked in general overall, because you find that some of the missile pods, when they fire, they miss the target even though they track, and some of the other weapons, you have frames where the weapon may have to transform or whatever if it's got that ability, and that really puts you at a disadvantage and lets the enemy get lots of hits in on you. So I kind of went a little bit for a meta build here. I'm known for trying to create robots, or rather I like robots that are able to do multiple roles at the same time and really excel. So following that kind of idea, I recreated my Limit Breaker mech and instead called it Moody so it was easier to identify. It's still got its blue and white and orange color scheme, which it normally has. But here we've changed up the build a little bit. We have the triple rapid fire bazooka, which I'm normally using in the game because it's really good offensively. I have my shoulder Gatling guns because I find that they're really good at poking at the enemy and keeping them on the defense. We have the missile pods on the back that are direct fire. From what I understand, they don't home too much, but they're really good for just direct fire, straight forwards. And then we have the katana, something that I have not been keen on adding, but because there are so many builds that use the katana and it is highly effective at chaining damage together and getting high amounts of damage very quickly, I thought I would use it. Also, the way that it attacks, it has a very wide arc for attacking. So what we have here is seemingly a unit that can defend itself pretty well and keep things on the offensive so that the enemy is constantly on the back foot. And that's what I want now. I'm looking at the brackets here, and I'm supposed to be versus, in the second bracket, I'm supposed to be versus the winner of the first fight in my bracket, which is Valia Refit by Oblivion Doll. And I'm running simulations now. I'll show you about this, and just realized I've got the window open here. I'll show you this and see what you guys think, because I'm running simulations. I think this is the third match, and I'm supposed to win it. So here we go. This is the third time I've run this simulation. So this is based on the exact builder I'm going to be versus. Now, it had me worried because the build is based on speed and melee. It has the ability to charge in and stagger me, and it has the katana and another sword for its build. Now, the thing is, my bazookas and my missiles can stagger, and the katana can do as much damage as his can. The difference comes between whether the AI chooses to evade or attack. Now, I've won, I think it's 3 matches up until now. Or it might be 2, I've lost track. But I've won all of my matches so far in this test outright. Like, there has been no sort of draws or where the enemy AI wins one round. So I'm actually quite nervous about whether this works, only because obviously everybody wants to win this just for the sake of, you know, for the sake of glory. You do not want to lose. So it's going to be interesting seeing what happens on the day or when the video comes out. I want to see whether my AI reacts how it does here. But if it does, because both of these AIs are set to insane, I'm looking at a possible win. Like I said, I'm just interested in seeing what will happen because the AI is actually really damn good at this. And I just wanted to run these tests to see how much of a chance I stood based on my loadout. like I said, hopefully here the design is good enough that I can get through. And then in the second bracket, I don't know who I'll be versus. Hopefully I can make it somewhere close to the end of the tournament. I would like to anyway, even if I don't win. But it's all based on the loadouts and how the AI works. Now, as you saw, I won 2-0 there. I'm going to do another couple of rematches really quickly just so you can see what happens. Because in the videos that I've watched with this AI, what happens is it dives in, it staggers with its thrusters, and then it tries to chop up the enemy. And the enemy that it was versus was actually really heavily kitted out. The only problem was the enemy that it was versus had a slight delay on changing weapons, and like I said, that was something I wanted to kind of rectify. As well as that, I've tried building it with stats in mind for movement speed, defense, and as much attack buffs as I could to melee, just in case. So the stats mean that it's not too weak overall. It's pretty good in terms of its overall abilities. So I'm hoping that the lack of frames in between switching weapons and the way that the stats and the kit work together should hopefully guarantee me an overall win and get me quite far. But knowing this, I'll look back at this video in the future and think, why did I even say this? Because I'll have probably lost. But it's neat just to see these simulations, just to see what will happen and see if there is any chance that the enemy can win with its kit. Because if there is, then it's going to be interesting to see how the video plays out on the RoboFights channel. Like, looking here, it's totally on the back foot. It can't use its boosters because it's being staggered. So instead, it's trying to retreat and get a little bit of a shot in on me. Oh, this is interesting. I've never had it count down like this, so... Oh! There we go. So that one ended in a win to me as a timeout. That's the first time that's happened. Which means it's possible that we can go to a timeout. There's a number of variables in this, like whether the AI is totally aggressive when it's going on the melee, whether I'm able to stagger it constantly, how much damage each one of them does. Like, I didn't go so much for damage. I went for stagger mainly. That was the idea, was to try and stagger it at all ranges so that I could get attacks in. The only thing that I did go for was the katana, in terms of I knew that the katana was really good in melee, especially when you chain up attacks. So hopefully that'll work in my favor. I'm just watching here. These levels are really good in terms of me being able to move around quite well. I think most of the fights are going to be in the arenas from what I can see. Like, there we go. One was a timeout, one was an overall win. And it's because this AI, or rather the enemy AI, has no ranged abilities from what I can see. It's all based on melee and rushing down the enemy. So, if it rushes the enemy down and staggers it successfully, then that's it. It can get in a bunch of attacks with both melee weapons, and it's fine. It's like my previous design. It's designed for overall overwhelming at close range, but if it can't do that, then it's screwed. It's like, my previous build was supposed to be range and melee, but it was let down by the fact that it didn't really have too many support weapons apart from its shoulder gatlings. And the weapons that it did have were the energy rifles that turn into spears. And the problem with that was that the transformation animation took way too long. So what ended up happening was I was dropping frames, and as a result, I wasn't being on the attack or the defense. I was just left open to enemy attack. So that's where that design was flawed. It's an interesting concept with the ability of transforming weapons, but still, it's one of those things where when you versus the AI or a player that will take advantage of those frames, that's when you get really screwed over. So I'm hoping here that this is going to be another win. If it's another win, then I think that's going to be 5 simulations done and me winning every single one of them. I might do this for other rounds in the tournament, depending on what happens. But this is interesting to see because it's giving me a lot of confidence at the moment in my build. I'm just hoping the way that this plays out in the tournament, it'll be exactly the same. What I'll do is I'll link RoboFights and the tournament into the description here so you can see for yourselves. But I'm really enjoying how this is looking so far. It's 1-0. I'm getting some really good hits in. Most of my hits are staggers. There we go. We're getting some katana action here. This is good. As you can see, I'm constantly on the offensive here, whether it be Gatling guns, missiles, or bazooka rounds, and then switching to the katana when it's really close. So I'm using its own weapon against it. There we go, it's dead. So hopefully this will play out like that in the actual matches. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. And like I said, go visit RoboFight's page, see how the other fights turn out, and see whether I win or not. Anyway, I'll see you guys.